Good evening. Welcome. This is Pwnery's The War Room. This is this is day 17 in Russia's incursion into Ukraine. It is Saturday. Well, for us. For them, it's already day 18. But what I thought we would do, as we have done for the last 2 weeks and 2 days, is we will cover the highlights of the day. And it gets a little bit easier for me on Saturdays because most of the stories on Saturdays are human interest stories, which don't really work with the timeline format of this particular show. But for once, I think we'll actually be able to get all this knocked out in about an hour because, well, news was small. The stories were significant, but the number of stories were rather small. And I'm pretty sure you all have things to do also on Saturday nights. So we're going to get through this one relatively quickly. And at least I think we will. I definitely don't see as many stories as usual. But we'll share them with you and we'll get through them one at a time, as usual. And we'll try to give you our sort of opinion on what we think of each story. So to spare you the boringly long intros and all this other stuff, what I thought I would do is I would just go ahead and start dragging in the panelists, and we'll just get straight to the getting, because time is money, right? So my first panelist, as usual, actually no, you know what? I have my panelists in almost the correct order this time, so let me go ahead and bring in my college student first, because he's been working with a couple of scholars from Russia, Ukraine, and China at his university, and they've been having these really fascinating panel discussions, and it's been getting pretty heated over there, almost like what happened here a couple days ago, but no hard feelings or anything. So my first panelist today is, I think I named him Jaime Zaporozhizhia. So there he is. You probably knew him on gun channels as Zorro117, but on my Discord server, everyone's getting comical Cyrillic names just for now, nicknames and such.
For Mother Russia, I'm joking.
For
No,
Mother
not for
Russia,
Mother Russia.
of course. But, Marco Ramius was actually born in Lithuania by birth, so that's why I've defected with the Red October. But anyway, it
Well,
is
thank you for letting me join.
and like Marco Ramius in the very beginning of that movie, it is cold, and I am hard. Wink, wink. Just kidding. All right, let's go ahead and get our next panelist in here, which is it's actually my tradesman up north of New England. He's actually up in New Hampshire. So this is a good evening to Scottish Naya. I can actually put this in panel view now so you can see everybody equally, because we're all equal here. And good evening to you. And
Evening.
I taught Night Strike some basic Ukrainian today, so we're going to do a pretty interesting intro if he can remember how to pronounce it properly. Hopefully he'll get it right this time. But my next guy is my IT guy out in Charleston, South Carolina. And this is Mikhail Naistrytsky. And we thought we would do the typical Ukrainian intros today, so I will tell him Slava Ukraini.
Heroyam Slava.
And he would tell me glory to the heroes. Exactly. Well done. And my final panelist today.
I didn't mess it up like I said I would.
No, you did very well. Good job. Yeah. So, for those of you who didn't know, Slava Ukraini means glory to Ukraine, and the typical response to that would be Heroyam Slava, which is glory to our heroes. And
I was looking up on that, and it wasn't always Heroyam Slava. It's at one point it was Kozakam Slava, which means glory to the Cossacks.
Yes, but this is for this particular conflict. And thankfully, the last story I've got for you today honors their heroes and their fallen. And I thought it was a really touching gesture. I called it when taking a knee is actually appropriate. So, like I said, we've got a couple of stories. We're not going to bombard you with like a bunch like usual. How do you get a Discord number? So in the chat, I got this question. If you look at the description of this video at the very bottom, there should be a section of the description that says, I've opened the server to the public. Click this link. If you do that, if you're on your phone, you'll have to download the Discord app on your phone. If you're on a PC, just download the Discord program on your PC, and then just have it running, and then click my link, and then it'll add you to my server.
I just put the link out there in the chat just for everyone.
So that way you guys can just jump in through there if you want to come and
click on that and either download it to your computer or to your phone and just create an account if you don't have one.
Yes. Oh, actually, I just realized we're technically in the wrong room, but it's okay because the channel lists aren't on the screen, so it's fine. But it's okay. This one's also set up as private too.
It feels better to use this one, honestly, because I have access to this one. I can see this one.
Oh. So only a few can, but I mean, either way.
I mean, I could have jumped in without you saying anything, and you wouldn't have been any the way.
It would have just messed up my intro, but I mean,
I know.
I'm over it. It's not a big deal. Let me scale this down just a little bit because it cut us off a little ways.
Well, it does that because the images you're using aren't.
I'm not scaling them properly.
No, it's not your fault.
Okay. No, it's my fault. It's totally my fault.
Oh, so we can blame you now.
Yes.
Okay, good. Because I thought we were going to get kicked out if we blamed you.
No, I can own that one. It's fine. All right. So anyway, like I said, today is day 17. This is the updated battle map as of yesterday. This map will change again tomorrow, but this one's pretty good. Oh, actually, you know what? This is the battle map, but I have an updated version of even this one, where it shows the attack flanks and the defensive lines, which maybe I'll be able to use that tomorrow as a sort of, we'll bring it all together. I can use it for tomorrow. All right, so let's go ahead and just get straight into the stories because I vow to try to get this within an hour today just because it's Saturday night and there wasn't many stories to work with. If you were looking at the scroller across the bottom of the screen, that is up to date. I've found a new source that can give me the numbers every day. So what you're going to notice is there's a lot of redundancy, but you'll see there's a couple of subtle changes because, actionable intel. So it's like only knocked out 2 extra tanks or only knocked out like 5 planes or, whatever it is. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. It's okay. She can watch from here because she can actually see what this show, how it's put together now. Okay. Our first story of the day picked up pretty much where we left off yesterday. It would have been about 1:30 in the morning Central Standard Time, so it's 9:30. It's breakfast time in the Ukraine. And basically what it was is, and I didn't even hear about this until today, the first Ukrainian refugees have been relocated to Guatemala. They arrived in the Central American country on Friday. I don't know what the future holds for us, but I hope the war ends soon. That's what one of the refugees said in the video as they touched down in Guatemala. It's hard to say how much my heart hurts for my mother and father in Ukraine, who couldn't leave. They couldn't take them out of the city they were trapped in.
There's a funny story about Ukrainian refugees that I saw today. It actually ties into this. There were some Ukrainian refugees that went to Mexico as refugees. And Mexico denied them entry.
Why?
I don't know. But they went to the United States border, and the United States just let them right in as refugees.
Like everybody else that goes across the border these days.
Well, no. This time they actually rolled out the red carpet.
Are refugees.
They rolled out the red carpet.
Refugees
these are legit refugees, and not just like, oh, we're refugees from southern Mexico.
Yeah.
I was going to bring up the fact that it's ironic that they sent them to Guatemala when you've got Guatemalans crossing the border claiming to be refugees from that country.
That's the name of the game, dude. Backfill, right?
Backfilling.
The Germans push into Slovakia, NATO. We push Americans into Germany. Now Guatemalans push into Texas, and Ukrainians push into Guatemala.
So Guatemala has a back order of refugees.
I'm just thinking of like the dating game theme music, and we'll just call it "Welcome to the Refugee Shell Game," or just whatever.
Well, you know what the problem with having the Ukrainians in Guatemala is?
What's that?
The Germans in the country next to them.
Ooh.
No, Argentina's a bit further. Argentine's a bit further south.
Reference,
yeah, but it's a lot further south than that. Anyway. All right,
Would
let's
be
keep
like-
going because 1 hour. We're gonna
Alright.
do this
Those
in an
are
hour.
the bad Germans.
Those
All
are
right,
the bad
so
Germans.
as part of the headlines for the show today, this came as a bit of a surprise. So this is a tweet that went out at 10:30 this morning in Ukraine time, and it accused 10 Spetsnaz special operators kidnapping the mayor of Melitopol, sorry, which is near Zaporizhzhia, where the nuclear plant is. So
Right.
the mayor's name is Ivan Fedorov, and I guess they tried to take him peacefully, and he fought back. So they probably just billy clubbed him and dragged him out. But
Yeah.
I do have something to add on to this story. I think twice throughout today's news headlines. So I mean, if you think that these things are going to go by pretty quickly today, they are. There wasn't a lot of meat and there's a lot of potato going on today in the news.
Sadly.
Yeah. Updated statistics came in from Poland at 10:30 Ukraine time, and what they have recorded now is about 1.6 million refugees just to Poland. That was Saturday morning statistics over there. So, what makes that sort of important is, well, we've got it in a story. I'll wait till I get to that story. But most of the headlines are just quick little short bits today. About 11:32, so about an hour after that news broke, not that one. Sorry, this happened. So the Russians are shelling mosques now, apparently. So I guess they got tired of hitting hospitals and
And I
hearing the
have to ask
screams of
about
women and
that.
children. Huh.
If the Russians are hitting mosques now,
Hmm.
then are the Syrians they hired to help them going to say it's like say in whatever in
Are they
Syrian
taking offense to this?
WTF?
Yeah, are
Yeah,
they taking offense to this?
wouldn't they get pissed off and a mosque gets bombed?
I would imagine so, but I think whoever was giving the order to this, to whatever, I guess, outfit that did it, was probably not the ones the Syrians were attached to. If
Did
they
they let the
were, that
Syrians
would
know
be.
that they were going to bomb that mosque ahead of time to get their approval before attacking it or something?
I don't think so, but I mean, then again, I mean, you can just toss the word infidel in there somewhere, and they'll just be like false prophets, and then say bomb it anyway, right?
Right.
Like if it's
Here's
a
the better
tainted
thing.
building, you have to raise it to the
Are
ground.
they
So
worrying about pissing off their Chechen allies?
see, that's the thing.
Hell, they've
You
already-
can convince them that the Holy Temple has been desecrated by infidels, right? And the only way to cleanse it is to purify it by burning it or destroying it. So, at least that's what I think. You know, if it's full of shit, then you burn the shit out, right?
Right.
Essentially. So, like, I'm sure it's easy to convince them. Otherwise, but then again, you might be right. They might just be pissed, and they'll just be like, "What are you doing? I didn't sign up for this." And then they'll say, "No, listen, conscripts already said that. You need a different excuse." All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're
Moving on.
like, besides, we're paying you in euros, not rubles, so you should be grateful, right? Yeah.
We're getting paid.
Yeah, it's like, holy shit, we're actually getting paid. Yeah. No, they don't volunteer to do this just for the war trophies of taking home clapped out DP-28 machine guns. I'm sorry, that's just me.
No,
only I
they
would do that.
it for the fatatas
Only I would do that.
or
Jesus.
fatas, or however you say it.
Right. All right.
All right. Onward.
Religious war.
Onward. All right, so about another hour after that, it was basically another tweet that went unheard, or sorry, another request that went unheard. The headline read that Ukraine needs aircraft and air defense systems, so they wanted.
I don't know. It was basic.
What the hell?
Maybe we should move to the right channel.
Okay, let's do that. I'll drag you guys down if you can't make it in there. Give me just a sec. Technical difficulty. Okay. There we go. That's better. All right. So, good evening to the finest of apes and Terry Scherer. I guess you guys made it in here just a bit late, but we're already halfway through the show. I'm kidding. We're about a quarter way through already.
We aren't even. We just started.
Yeah, but like I said, we didn't have very many stories.
I've got something. Remember, remember.
Okay.
Don't
right.
skip over me this
All
time.
right. So the Ukraine says they need aircraft and air defense systems, and basically what they were doing is the Ministry in Parliament, Alexei Goncharenko, says that he replied directly to Joseph Biden on Twitter, and he says, "Listen, I don't." He's saying what Tom Cotton is saying. He's saying what General Jack Keane is saying. He's saying what 95% of America is saying, and probably 98% of the world is saying. But basically, his reply is he doesn't see the difference between providing Ukraine with Stinger missiles or aircraft, because aggression is aggression, right? Weapons are weapons. And I know some people are going to argue that because it's based off of their effective altitude, but then again, I don't know shit about war, so repeating another theme of the day. But yeah, he's basically saying what everyone else is thinking. He doesn't see what the difference is between providing you with a Stinger missile as opposed to giving you a MiG-29 with their version of a Sidewinder.
Funny, it says the goddamn
commie bots got him.
Get off my lawn, you commie bastards.
Yeah. My grass isn't red. Get off. Anyway. Actually, if Patrick was here, yeah.
Well, Patrick's already drinking.
He's like, there's nothing more special than a cultured lawn. Oh! Anyway.
And then he goes on about propane.
And propane accessories.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so about another hour goes by. So, like, these are all the hours before I'm even awake. So, I mean, we already got through this many stories, and it's still only 5:35 in the morning for me. But, over yonder, 1:35 Ukrainian time, I have this photo for you, which is just to highlight their death figures. Fighting raged on in the outskirts of Kyiv Saturday as air raid sirens sounded in the capital, and Russian troops attempted to circle the city. Artillery pounded Kyiv's northwestern outskirts. That's where the artillery is in the top left corner of the city. To the city's southwest, 2 columns of smoke, one black, one white, rose into the town in the town of Vasilkiv after a strike on an ammunition depot. The strike on the depot caused hundreds of smaller explosions from the detonating ammunition. In the besieged city of Mariupol, at least 1,500 people have died as of Friday, so says the government. The city still has no food or water. I think it was 980,000 people are without power. 238,000 of those 900,000 are without power and natural gas. And remember, it's still winter over there. It's still snowing there. It's very cold. So
they're trying to, I guess, kill them with cold.
They're trying to demoralize them by turning them into cavemen. They're trying to bomb them into the Stone Age essentially and break them. But I mean, that's Russia's playbook too. They tear the onion apart layer by layer, which we'll get into in a little bit about the encirclement of Kyiv. Russian troops shelled again a maternity hospital. Oh, this is a recap. So Russian troops shelled the maternity hospital last week, and on Saturday the government said a mosque where people were hiding, I think there was over 80 people inside, it was also attacked. At least 3 people, including a child, had died in the hospital attack. The child was buried alive under the rubble. They used some big munitions. I mean, we're talking 20-foot deep, 30-foot wide craters. This guy fell into it, and he had to climb back out and still have to have a hand when he got to the top to pull himself out. Big hole.
How many children have to die before people actually start caring? That's what I want to know.
What it is
people start caring to do something.
The problem is at the end of the day, like even us, right? We're doing this on YouTube. We're something like the news. So at the end of the day, we thank everyone for watching. They turn off their TV or they flip off the internet or they go and watch the next video, and it's like it's out of their sight, it's out of their mind. So I mean, it's just how humanity works. When it's not you or your children or in your backyard or in your face, it's very easy to sort of switch off. But I mean, your question is a valid one. It's just, how much more atrocity does the world have to see before the world reacts? Because I never understood why NATO does these declarations. Like, we voted on a resolution to call Russia the bad guys. It's like, who the fuck cares? Oh, but we voted on it. Again, who the fuck cares? But you don't understand. We're all unified in saying that Russia is bad. It's like, again, who the fuck cares? Like, are you going to do something about that, or are you just going to point fingers and go, "You're bad"? Because I mean, that's kind of what
What
they
is it
do.
called when you're like, you're nerve dead, or you're like, you just ignore atrocities?
Oh, desensitized.
You're desensitized, exactly.
I thought you were going to say, what do you call it when you think you're doing something but you're actually doing nothing? And I would have said prayer, but yeah,
Uh,
that might offend some people. Anyway,
I would have said you're either being a sitting senator, a sitting congressman, or president,
well, that
or
too.
vice president.
Yeah.
A
Anyway,
sitting politician. There we go.
yeah, let's move on. We've gotten past the death figures for the day, I think. But next
What?
is this. And
Oh.
this is in the city of Melitopol. And it says the citizens of the southern Ukraine city have gathered in the streets to protest the alleged abduction of the mayor by Russian forces. Hundreds of people gathered near the occupied administration buildings to demand the release of Ivan Fedorov. Ukrainian officials posted a video on Friday that they claimed showed the Russian troops leading a blindfolded Fedorov out of the building. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Russia of a new stage of terror and that this is obviously a sign of weakness of the invaders. Now, I have to disagree with him on that last saying. When you fight to win, right? There is no rules. I'm sorry. I know we make rules of war and all this other stuff about how you can't do this and you shouldn't do that or whatever, but if you're fighting a war, you're trying to fight to win, and you're going to win by any means necessary. And the only people who abide by the rules are the people who write them. Meaning, if Putin wins, then the rules didn't matter. If Putin loses, then you can just tack on a bunch of and ones for your violations of the rules. But you better be damn sure you win then, because that way your rules will actually have weight and meaning. But for now, they're meaningless. So it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of additional savagery. Because what he's trying to do is he's trying to tear the heart out of the Ukrainian people to give them this sense of desperation and desolation that nobody's coming to help you, and if you keep resisting, I will crush you. And don't be surprised if this guy gets publicly executed in front of them. Because what do you think that's going to do to morale? Yeah, some guys will dig their heels in deeper and fight for him. You know, very remember the Alamo, remember Goliad, remember Fedorov kind of a thing. But for the standard just person, the non-soldier, it's going to gut them. And if they're just going to keep doing it, they're going to keep twisting that knife, figuring out what sickens them, the people of Ukraine, into wanting not to fight anymore just to get them to stop being sick. Because it's going to get worse. Like, make no mistake, they're getting dirty. They're bombing cities, they're bombing hospitals, they're bombing infrastructure.
Whoa! They're Russian. They've always been dirty.
Right. It's just they're playing the brutality handbook, and they think that it's going to break these people. And at first it won't, but the longer it goes on, the more savage the attacks will become, and they're going to find something that sickens everybody eventually, whether it's chemical, biological, nuclear, whether it's Al-Qaeda-like videos, you know, with a chainsaw, and you get the idea. Like, I don't have to draw this picture for you. It's just you don't know how bad humanity is until you can see what one man is capable of doing to another during a war. I think I've said that before too. That's when you get to see what humanity really is, because you get to see the best of humanity when somebody tries to save somebody like that, or you get to see the worst of it because of the way that they killed that other person. And it could be, it can burn a hole in you for the rest of your life that you can't get rid of. Unless you just don't feel anything, because I mean, a lot of times I don't, but I'm sure the Russians will figure out something to make me go, God, you guys are fucked up. So let's move along. This was about the same time of day. And the story reads, a senior Russian diplomat warned the U.S. that Moscow will view... Oh, this is the story I was hoping for. So you know how I was talking to you off air about Aqua Teen Hunger Force and Meatwad opening the doors, and it was always a mummy coming out going, "Curse!
And
Curse!"
Moscow just continuing to double down.
Yes. So,
And
like,
double
every
down and
day,
double
Moscow
down.
comes up with a new thing to say, if you do this, that's escalation. If you do this, that's escalation. If you sanction us, that's escalation, right? Okay. So, now that I've set the stage, a senior Russian diplomat warned the US that Moscow will view any weapons deliveries into Ukraine as legitimate targets. Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov said Russia has warned the U.S. that pumping weapons from a number of countries it orchestrates isn't just a dangerous move, it's an action that makes these convoys legitimate targets. He also denounced the unprecedented attempt to deal a serious blow to Russia's economy through sanctions and noted that Moscow will act in any way necessary to avoid hurting itself. That last line is the funniest part. Like, I have a sick sense of humor, if you didn't know. But what that last line is what I find the most funny. They will do whatever they need to avoid hurting itself. I'm sorry. Your very existence is what's hurting you right now. Your very leadership, your very actions every day are you hurting yourselves on a global stage. Nobody likes you anymore. You're the kid who gets kicked out of the Chuck E. Cheese birthday party. You're never going to be invited to it again. I mean, it's bad enough that you have professional athletes in the NHL who had nothing to do with this, who probably haven't stepped foot in Russia for years, and they're trying to just make a living playing a sport. I say it's a child's game, but I mean, hockey's pretty damn physical, right? They play games, and we live our lives through them by proxy in sport, right? And they're getting completely belittled and attacked, and those guys had nothing to do with it. Like, this is what Russia's doing to its people. If you think what they're doing to the Ukrainians is bad, think about what they're doing to all their people worldwide right now. All those people have to live in the shadows. All those people have to deny where they came from. They have to lie to the world. No, I'm not really Russian. When they are. They were born there, they might have left there, they might have started a new life here, and they can't do that. And what does our country really embrace? Embrace your heritage, right? We have Black History Month. We have, like, remembering, like, Native American tribes individually, all sorts of things like that. You have, like, Irish Pride
We
Day
do?
and things. We do.
Okay.
But I mean, the fact of the matter is you can't be a Russian anywhere right now. So I don't think I need, some dipshit foreign minister in Russia trying to tell me that they're trying to stop everything that hurts themselves, because they're hurting themselves worse than anything we're going to do to them. Anyway, moving right along. All right, so a little over an hour later, and this one was pretty good, actually. So about 4:40 p.m. Ukrainian time, FSB agents. Oh, sorry, this would have been Moscow time. My mistake. Same time zone, though. FSB agents visited the homes of Google and Apple executives and threatened them with jail if they didn't remove their apps that helped register protest votes against Russian President Vladimir Putin. This was from an old Washington Post story, but it says that it was just one part of a broader campaign by Putin to crack down on opposition prior to the invasion of Ukraine, including the imprisonment of political adversary, depending on where you come from, Alexei Navalny, and the Kremlin takeover of Russia's Facebook equivalent. The Kremlin also moved to intimidate foreign tech companies operating in Russia. It imposed fines totaling $120 million US against firms accused of defying censorship guidelines and ordered 13 companies to keep their employees in Russia. So we're going to punish you, and we're going to make sure that you keep your guys here so we can make an example out of them. Allowing for the potential arrest or punishment of those employees for their employer's actions. So, yeah, Facebook makes a policy change. Guys that are working in Russia, they get arrested and punished for it, even though maybe all they do is keep the lights on. I don't think it's an over-dramatization to say that Putin is longing for a return to Soviet Union times, not only in geopolitical power, but in terms of total control inside his own state. This came from Pavel Khodorovsky. He was the founder of the New York-based Institute for Modern Russia. So yeah, what have we learned so far in 17 days? We have learned the importance of the Second Amendment if you live in Russia, because they don't have one, and they can't defend themselves, and they're constantly being carted off for exercising their First Amendment rights, also which they don't have, by the police.
We've also learned if you have more guns than soldiers, arm your people in Ukraine.
Which they did. Just passing out AKs all day.
And DP-28s.
And DP-28s. And PKMs. With no NFA restrictions. I don't think there was a background check. How do you think Ukraine would have been able to defend itself if they had California's 10-day waiting period?
If I spoke Ukrainian, I would go right over there right now. I could help somehow.
Most Ukrainians' second language is English, so you'd probably just walk right in just fine. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go pick up some DP-28s.
Let's go get some Russian tanks.
Let's go get some T-92s. Hell yeah.
No, T-90s. I'd rather have the T-90s.
I want to find a T-14 Armada.
They're not going to bring the T-14s.
I'm going to find one. If I have to cross the border into Russia and steal one, I'll get one. Because, I mean, they'll be on the defensive anyway. They'll just leave them running.
Remember, all those tanks are smoothbore barrels, so we could totally hold them here.
Sweet. Let's do it. Let's do it. Anyway.
Let's.
I'm still going to pose that question to you, though. I mean, imagine if the Ukraine had California's 10-day waiting period when this war started. This war would have been over.
Right?
Yeah. It would have been over. 10 days, no weapons. Over. So, if you needed a reason to demand that the United States ban the NFA and get rid of the ATF, look no further than Belarus. I mean, sorry, let's look no further than Ukraine.
I thought you were going to say Moldova, but, you know.
No, they can't afford the guns in the first place. They're the poorest country in the region. No, I mean, it's not a joke. It's just they really are. I mean, that is a country.
Bulgaria isn't.
No, Moldova's the poorest one. It was so bad that 1/5 its total population exodused out of the country in the last year.
Wait, wasn't Moldova part of Romania at one point?
I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea. I just know that they were a puppet state to the southwest, and the Russians came in and said, "We're putting 9,000 troops here. Deal with it." And Moldova was like, "Look, we can't afford to fight you. We're not going to argue with you. Just don't knock over the China sets, because that's all the plates we got left, okay? Just leave it alone." All right, so Warsaw wants in, so I guess I'll have to drag him in. And there he is, our Polish hammer. Late, fashionably, but you're here, so good evening.
Our Polski partisan.
So anyway, good evening to you. We're getting through the stories. I don't have very many left, but you're welcome to stay. All right, so let's move on. It is now 4:40 p.m. in Poland, and I think this town is called Przemyśl, something like that. You don't pronounce the P? I don't know. It's one of the cities where they're taking in a lot of these refugees. Anyway, two major Polish cities, including the country's capital of Warsaw and Krakow, its second largest city, Warsaw and Krakow, its second largest city, are running out of space for Ukrainian refugees escaping from Russian attacks. So far, the total statistic is 2.6 million Ukrainians have fled the country amid Russia's invasion, the majority of which, 1.6 million, have sought refuge in Poland, according to the UN High Commissioner for Refugees. So that's the guy who keeps giving us the numbers, because I guess he's sitting at the Polish border with one of those little clicker counter things. That's all I can think of, because he keeps updating it every day or every other day. So it is what it is. They're up to 2.6 million, though. You can see that number is accelerating rather quickly. And that is, I think the sobering figure to that is that 6% of the total population of Ukraine already in 17 days. Doesn't seem like much, but if you figure 6% of the population left and their soldiers are dying and countless civilians dying, I think it's safe to say about this war is directly affecting at least 15 to 20% of the total population at any given time, whether they ran, died, fought, or can't move. I think that's a realistic estimate. This is going to get so much worse in like 2 or 3 weeks. That number is going to be like 5-6 million at least, especially if they keep pushing and filling in all the gaps in the middle. Like if they get to the Dnipro, or like if they start taking everything west of the Dnipro River, that's half the country. Like they'll just be under siege. All those people that are trapped on that side of the river. It might be that very scenario they talked about yesterday, where there's an East Kyiv or East Ukraine and West Ukraine. Now they're not going to build a Berlin Wall type thing because they got this giant river, but it still sucks. You know, it doesn't take away how much it sucks. Okay, if you're going to play Mr. Spy Guy and steal tanks, you going to do it with a PPK like your namesake, or go full Fleming with a Beretta 25 auto? Okay, I'm gonna give Mikhail Knightstritsky some credit, because once upon a time he actually found me 380 ACP Raufus rounds. So when you used to see Bond shoot down a helicopter with PPK and you're like, how the hell did he do it? I'm gonna claim that he used a Raufus round. So I'm gonna go with that, because I have to maximize my capabilities.
His words when he says, I need 380 Raufus rounds, but I cannot find them at all over the internet. And I've looked. And I go, how hard did you look? And he goes, why? Link. And
here you go.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
He found them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
It true story. It happened. Let's see. Al says that Moldova has its roots in the 1350s when it was Moldavia, which predated both Moldova and Romania. Oh, I guess he was answering your question about were they apart? So
no, wasn't Moldova part of Wallachia at one point?
No idea. He gave us the history though. I mean, he says the region has been in existence since the 1350s, so it's its own thing. It may have been absorbed by other countries throughout history, but it's been its own thing for eons.
Right. No, I was going to ask. I was looking into a documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Was the what was it? Georgia? Wasn't the governor of Odessa in Ukraine from Georgia?
During that whole like
2014 issue.
I want to say he was.
Because I looked into a documentary on him, and that reminded me, like, oh yeah, that's right. At Odessa, I remember looking at this governor, and I'm thinking, yeah, he's Georgian, not Ukrainian.
Mm-hmm. That's okay. My character's Lithuanian by birth. Anyway,
hey, close Polish.
My character's only translated.
Let's move forward. We're getting there. We did pass the halfway mark finally. Woohoo! Yeah. Okay.
Remember, I've got something to say. So.
Okay. All right, so my next story for you is here. That look on his face. 5:40 p.m. So this is his post-curfew address. He does them every day. And it says, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced during his press conference Saturday that his forces have lost approximately 1,300 troops over the last 17 days. Ukraine had avoided providing any hard numbers for its losses in combat, providing numbers of civilian deaths instead. Russia last week claimed that it had killed at least 2,870 Ukrainian troops and wounded over 3,500 more. So this is the story where you say the winner is going to overestimate their numbers for propaganda, and the person falling behind is going to underestimate his numbers to not demoralize his armies. So the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. I think that's fair to say, right? So if he says 1,300 and Russia says 2,800, I think it's safe to say probably about 2,000. Either KIA or wounded. Because even both ministries of defense and both presidents, they're not getting up to the minute updates. There's no way. Because everyone's afraid of their leader. Actually, no. Zelensky's probably getting it straight. Putin's probably getting the broski version because they don't want to get arrested and sent to Siberia wearing their wife's head as a hat and mining salt for the next 6 months before they die of exposure. Anyway, I think the number's somewhere closer to 2,000, and I'm sure that number will update as the days go on. All right, so about an hour past his address to the public, there's a story that says, oh yeah, this was the redrawing of the map. Russia will push for a referendum to create the Kirsan People's Republic in a similar model to the supposed breakaway Ukrainian territories of Donetsk and Luhansk. Sergei Klan, a deputy of the Kirsan Regional Council, reported on the possible referendum Saturday, claiming that the military has contacted local deputies to ask for support. So they're basically carving up the town, or the city, like they did the two other eastern breakaway states, supposedly. So even if they do this East Ukraine, West Ukraine thing, this Kherson one is south. It's west of Crimea. It's in the south. You can see it right there on the map. So they would fracture the nation. A blob on the left, a blob on the right, and then like a section in the middle that's always going to be contested. Because they'll just keep trying to pincher it to fill in the gap. So they have to win. Otherwise they lose it all. You guys are seriously having a debate on where Vigo the Carpathian came from in Ghostbusters 2?
Where is this?
I'll have you know that he's probably going to make a comeback in the next Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel, because that seems to be the thing where they keep bringing things back from the old ones.
No, the joke is they're bringing the dead back from the dead.
Oh, God.
You didn't think of that one, did you?
It's okay. I'm ready. I got my 6-inch python. Like, the dead can come back. I'll gladly send them right back. Because I'm Rick Grimes, bitch.
Well, if you're gonna shoot ghosts with that, you better put rock salt in it.
Okay, Lockjaw, sit tight, because Night Strike's gonna save you that for last. But he does have something on that. So let me just hurry things along so we can get to that. So it's 10:45, or sorry, it's 11:45 in D.C. and the Biden administration authorized an additional $200 million in new security assistance to Ukraine. This brings the total defense aid for Ukraine to $1.2 billion in the last year. Biden's authorization comes after a public disagreement with Poland on sending the fighter jets to Ukraine. The U.S. has been flowing weapons into Ukraine, but balked on transferring MiGs, saying Russia would see this move as escalatory. Wow, no shit. Anyway, that was what Monday's excuse. Tuesday's excuse was your sanctions are escalatory. Wednesday's excuse was wearing a pink tie at your press conference is escalatory. Thursday's excuse was you sent Vice President Harris, but she forgot to bring her knee pads. That was escalatory. Just whatever it is for the day, you know. They have like a magic 8-ball of escalations in the Kremlin, apparently. It's like, oh, Putin's hair plugs fell off. That's escalatory. It's like, we didn't even make those. Doesn't matter. It's escalatory. Anyway, so they're already spoiling your stories in the chat, but I'm not going to read them out because I'm going to let you do it later anyway. So let's move on. So around the same time, but we're going to travel back to Ukraine, or Moscow, and it says that a Russian spy chief has been put under house arrest as Putin seeks a scapegoat. The Kremlin has reportedly placed FSB Foreign Intelligence Chief Sergei Beseda under house arrest with his deputy, with his deputy. This was from the British Times. They got the source on this one. The arrests follow a search of some 20 addresses throughout Moscow as FSB investigated officers who may have contacted journalists. The reports over the past 2 weeks suggested that an FSB agent may have leaked critical information to Ukraine and the West. The formal basis for conducting these searches is the accusation of the embezzlement of funds earmarked for subversive activities in Ukraine. This was from Vladimir Osechkin, an exiled human rights activist. The real reason is unreliable, incomplete, and partially false information about the political situation in Ukraine. Putin has reportedly alleged that the FSB provided false information on the situation in Ukraine, including reports in the run-up to the invasion that were, quote, simply not right. So anyway, he's basically blaming his spies for
Lying to him?
lying to him or lying to the Ukraine or whatever. He's basically making excuses so he can have plausible deniability when he starts getting tried as a war criminal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't do it. It was that spy chief guy. We even arrested him. Look at that.
This is undocumented right now, but there are I've heard rumors that possibly more FSB agents have been arrested in Russia than they let on, because some of them have been plotting against Putin.
It's a matter of time.
Who's arresting his
Yeah,
FSB
it's a matter of time
agents?
before he's now.
Who's arresting his FSB agents? Are the FSB itself, or we're talking other?
Probably Oman.
Yeah,
No.
he's probably calling in his personal security force.
If he's well, his FSB guys are, that's his KGB, right?
Federal Security Bureau.
He's arresting them.
Oman is basically the
using an
Russian
outside
military
agency.
police. Sober is basically like their special forces quick reaction force of
SWAT team, yeah.
Yeah, it's the SWAT of the SWAT, because Oman is technically the SWAT team. Sober is like the what's the name? The Death Skull Brigade, like the Germans used to have. Like they're worse than that. These guys are like, I have a friend in St. Petersburg. He said that when Oman shows up, be somewhere else. If Sober guys show up, you better be some country else. Like it's like those guys don't fuck around. They can kill you in the street and walk away, and they don't have to fill out paperwork. Like those guys
they get away with it legally, huh?
Yeah, like they don't have rules. I think the only person they answer to is Putin. But then again, I thought the FSB guys do too. So it's kind of really hard to say who's arresting them. It could be the FSB eating their own. That wouldn't surprise me.
Could be. Well, it's an issue that now the FSB has people in it that have lived after the Cold War and after there was a Soviet Union. They don't even know what the Soviet Union is.
If you're talking like younger agents, okay, I'll give you that. I mean, half their population is that.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
Theoretically, could there be a small resistance in Russia right now as we get currently hearing this?
No,
there's enough fired generals that they could get the people together, and if they start, if Putin starts having his Oman and what was it, the other one? What was the other one? Sober. If he starts having them just open fire on protesters and just starts killing them instead of arresting them, then yes, there will be riots. There will be mass defiance. Hell, you might even see another Bolshevik revolution against Putin.
Well, the number of people arrested since this
it
all
wouldn't
began.
be Bolsheviks; it would just be Russian people.
Well,
so kind of like Nikolai Ceausescu.
There's been 14,000 arrests in that country since this all began. So there's already a movement. Like it's pretty good size. I think the straw that'll break the camel's back is if you get Oman or Sober to stand down saying, we can't do this anymore, this is ridiculous. And then they break out Navalny.
Navalny's been quite vocal lately.
Yeah. Like
Navalny's
the guy that's going to take Russia back out of communism. He's a capitalist. He's the biggest thorn in Putin's side.
Navalny, if they can get him out and put him in charge, he can bring Russia into the 21st century instead of trying to live in the last vestiges of the 20th.
Yeah, he actually wants to talk to the West.
The same Alexei Navalny that got poisoned on the airplane?
Yes. That's the guy. He's in a political prison right now, and he can only post to social media when his lawyer shows up. But his lawyer keeps showing up to prove quality or proof of life. Proof of life. Yeah. So like he comes in, he gets the tweet.
But apparently, from what I hear, he's got a really good lawyer too. So.
Yeah. It's an Interpol lawyer.
Alexei knows all the corruption and all the schemes that Russia's been dealing with.
Yeah, he's basically been the capitalist whistleblower of everything going on in Russia, which is why Putin's trying to get rid of him.
Actually, his latest tweet today. He called Putin an insane czar.
Sounds right.
More like a
That's-
Soviet fucking dictator in my book.
Well, no, he called Putin an insane czar today, and I'm like, wow. Hey, you're behind jail. You're behind bars in Russia, and you're just gonna say that?
That might be the safest
right.
place for him to be. I mean, think of how many walls of bars that his killer would have to get through to get to him.
Actually,
this is true. This is true.
Russia, I will say no. We'll just pay the Russian mob to protect him.
I think what will end up happening is if this is an unwinnable war, the prison that Navalny's in would suddenly just explode by a terrorist attack, and everybody inside had died, and Putin will just be like, oh well, oops.
You know what Navalny also said today?
That
he's against this war.
Well, yeah, but he said that every day. Every chance
he
he gets,
that
he
every
says
day,
that.
but-
Yeah.
But,
You know what
the fact that he keeps doubling down on it means that it actually means that he means it. You know?
He's trying to stay visible to the world, because what's going to end up happening is if this goes upside down in Ukraine's favor and it starts pushing Russians out and they actually survive this and Putin gets captured as a war criminal and goes to The Hague and goes under trial, and then a guy
it's over for him. If
then
they
a guy
capture him.
like me becomes the next John C. Woods and just shoves him into a wood chipper, that kind of thing. Then
No one's gonna care.
Navalny will be the face and the name that the West remembers, that was defiant and constantly speaking out against this, and reminding everyone who he is. Because I mean, he was supposed to be like the Great White Knight of Russia, and now he's a political prisoner. So he'll win the hearts and minds of politicians worldwide, because he's he's well educated, he's very eloquent, and he's not afraid to speak his mind against this government. So his government, that is. Anyway, so you guys in the chat have been really good about this, so I like what I'm reading, but I think you're absolutely right, because if you look at history, is a good teacher of how world wars start, and it's always some like small person in a flyover country that gets killed and everyone chooses a side, and then conflicts break out in multiple fronts, right? So you've got, like you said, there's something going on in the Middle East right now. That could be the trigger. That could be the catalyst again. We don't know
who
yet.
would be the catalyst? Who dying right now in this whole conflict?
Crown Prince of Saudi.
The Crown Prince of Saudi.
Yeah, by a
I was thinking
Yemeni.
of the Ayatollah.
No, by a Yemeni terrorist, because he's been attacking Yemen for years, and no one talks about it. Like the United States covered something that the Saudis did to Yemen like 2 or 3 years ago, and it sort of just fell by the wayside. But like, imagine if a Yemeni terrorist or a Yemeni freedom fighter somehow smuggles his way into Saudi Arabia and takes out that guy. That would be the catalyst. Absolutely.
Why are they attacking each other? Is it just the tribal thing?
I used to know the reason to this. Honestly, even I forgot. I can look into it. We can discuss it.
Tutsi rebels or whatever.
Is it that?
Yeah.
If it's that, then yeah, this has been going on for over a decade, then maybe even longer. At least as up to the forefront. But okay, you know what? I'll do my homework on this, and we'll discuss this at length. Because if this is not going to stop, like this is going to continue happening anyway. So we'll definitely get an opportunity to really expand on this.
Yeah. Right now, we're not going over the stuff that's going on in the Middle East because we're trying to go over the Ukraine.
Daniel, do you have a source on what you just wrote? Because if you did, put a link in there, and I want to read up on it tonight. Because that obviously is going to become a major thing. I mean, this all started like Middle Eastern influence into this conflict.
It's Russia's fault.
I think it began when Putin employed, I think, what was it, 20,000 Syrians? Battle-hardened Syrians with experience out of the fighting in Aleppo. I think he hired like 20,000 of them.
Hold on, let me do my best Gary Johnson impersonation. What's in Aleppo?
Oh shit.
Ah.
All right, let's move on because we're almost at the hour.
Did you see that Chechen I sent you that Putin actually is friends with?
Oh, you mean the one that wears designer combat boots?
Oh, See, I read the first half of Fine Ape's comment, and I was like, well, we can just use a hand crank one. And then he says, just like great grandma's meat grinder. See, great minds think alike. All right, moving on.
Yeah, that's the same guy, Warsaw.
Moving on. All right. People are saying it on Reddit, but no official source. Okay. No, I mean,
Okay.
that's the buzz. I guess I can go back to
Oh.
being a B-tard and go, check my other.
I will say one thing about Reddit is if it's true, if it's true, it's probably posted on Reddit before it's posted on major outlets, because we've seen that with the Russia thing, with the whole video that Scott
They beat
posted
the AP by hours.
with the Soviet Union flag on the tanks.
Yes.
They beat all the press by like at least
Several
7 or 8 hours.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. So, it is now. Let's see. That was okay. So an hour after that story, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky pleaded with Western nations Saturday to help him free the captured mayor from the southern town of Melitopol after he was taken by Russian forces. We address all the world leaders to please talk to Moscow, France, Germany, Israel, anybody, Zelensky said in his address. I personally called the Chancellor of Germany, Scholz, and talked to him as well as Macron. I'll talk to whoever I need to talk to in order for our people to be freed, he added, urging top nations to use their global standing to influence this situation. Basically what he's doing is he's asking all the other world leaders to call Russia out and say, if you execute that fucker, there will be hell to pay, that kind of thing. So I think Zelensky is seeing the desperation of this situation like I see it. Russia wants to shock people into giving up. And what better way to do it than to take that supermodel-looking male model mayor of their town and executing him publicly. That would do it. That would really incense the people. It'll break them.
So you're saying Russia's turning like ISIS, basically?
Yes. Because Putin fights to win, and after what the Russians tried to do in Afghanistan, he's not going to make the same mistake twice.
So he's going to be a savage.
Yes, absolutely. Like
Well,
without a doubt.
knows how to do.
I mean,
Then he's no longer a human being. Then he might as well be like ISIS member.
He never was. Like that's the thing. The guy is a terrorist in a tuxedo, essentially.
Yeah.
He's always been that way, though. He's a silver-tongued devil when it comes to diplomacy, but at the end of the day, like when he's shaking your hand with his right hand, his left hand is behind his back with his fingers crossed. I mean, that's the way he's always been.
I guess he's fucking worse than Al Capone then at this point.
He's worse than Joseph Stalin.
Well, no, not yet. He's not sending people to Siberia and
no,
killing
he's
them
worse
all.
than Joseph Stalin because he didn't have nice hair
like
he didn't have Joseph Stalin's epic hair, so
or his mustache,
or commanding mustache.
Yet.
Or commanding mustache, exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you wonder if Stalin had a cleft palate like Stacy Keach.
No,
Maybe.
here's a thought.
Probably cleft lip.
No, Sean.
No, he had a gimp arm.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
Well,
That was corrected as he got older, though, wasn't it?
No,
Yeah.
no, it was crippled his whole life.
No,
There's
Sean.
video of Winston Churchill presenting him a sword, and he couldn't pick it up with his left arm.
Ah, okay. Okay, I do remember that photo.
No, Sean.
yes.
Here's a thought. You think he actually is tied with the Russian mafia in Russia?
He owns them.
That's what I figured.
He owns them. I
He
mean, think
owns
about it. This has been argued for this has been argued since the fall of communism, but many people think that Vladimir Putin is probably the richest man on earth in terms of net value.
So he's a mafioso then.
He's a world
He's a gangster.
criminal. Yeah, that's what he is.
He's just a criminal.
Well, remember when we used to joke about the battle of the Blofelds between Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk? The thing is they were competing for runner-up because Putin is Blofeld, except he's successful, and he doesn't have a real Connery coming after him. Maybe this is my time.
I'm just surprised Interpol hasn't gone into his country and tried arresting him.
They're not.
You'd have to redo the picture, Sean, where the Connery it has slanted eyes.
Oh God, I should be half offended.
No, Interpol doesn't have jurisdiction in Russia, do they?
No, Interpol wouldn't send somebody to arrest him anyway. They'd send like their version of Jason Bourne or something.
What's next? Europol? That's the unit failure, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we could see if the Iscario 13 is real.
Yeah, we could.
Ask the Pope for help, I guess. Then again,
Yeah, the Pope.
then again,
that
he's
guy
probably
doesn't do shit.
knowing the Vatican's history after World War II. They're probably just melting down all the Russian gold and hiding it in their vaults anyway.
Patrick is out there saying,
You mean
"Show
the Russian gold
nothing,
that's right next to the
nothing."
Nazi gold?
Yeah,
And the Vatican's also protecting pedophiles, I've been hearing.
maybe.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Only
move on.
pedophile priests.
We already cleared the hour, so we're screwed. Let's go ahead and
Finish
screw this
up.
properly.
Well, I still have something to say.
I
too,
know,
so.
but they're already talking about it in the chat. That's why I'm trying to get through this so you can get into that.
No,
So around the
not
same time, Ukraine's. Oh wait, I got a picture for you. Here you go.
Ooh, pictures.
That's not rain. Those are trees, and that is an explosion.
Are you sure?
Yes, because I actually took a still shot of the video I was watching for this. Ukraine State Border Guard Service on Saturday released this video, or this screenshot of this video, that I took the screenshot. The video actually does play. That supposedly shows the destruction of a Russian multiple rocket launcher system. The brief video shows an incredible explosion, which you see there, that leaves nothing of the system behind, which actually happens about 4 seconds after this dissipates. Ukraine, throughout the invasion, has touted its success in destroying Russian vehicles and arms, with its most recent report claiming that the Ukrainian forces destroyed 58 aircraft, 382 tanks, 135 artillery pieces, and 33 AA emplacements, which you can see in the scroller below, because I have a very good source for that information. It gets updated every day now. Kaboom. I think you can find that video on... I think Fox has that video posted right now.
Funker 30 definitely has.
They've got it, yep. And then the website used to be called LiveLeak, but it's got a new name now, and that video's on there too. Like if you go to liveleak.com, it'll automatically take you to the news site, and they'll have that video too. Anyway, let's move on. About an hour later... oh yeah, this picture's called China Owns Russia. It was a really nasty article. Yeah.
You hear that China strike?
So the
Shut it, Warsaw.
the headline reads, China will never treat Vladimir Putin as an equal, and it will also prove to be ruthless in any business dealings after the crippling sanctions and drawn-out invasion have left Russia vulnerable. That was the headline. Putin might go to China, former Russian foreign minister Andrei Kzyrev had told this interviewer, and he says he goes to China because he's not competitive in any other markets, and he sells to China the raw materials. But China will never take him as an equal partner or even as an ally because they don't need him. That's a bold claim, right? Russia and China developed closer ties in the run-up to the invasion of Ukraine, signing a number of deals that would potentially allow Moscow a backdoor economically to alleviate any sanctions from the West. Basically, it's, if I can't sell to anybody else, I can always sell it to China, right? To backfill his crippling sales. Such deals included broader access to Russian wheat and a plan to sell 100 million tons of Russian coal to China. But Kzyrev, who served as Russia's first foreign minister in the post-Soviet era from 1990 to 96, believes that this dynamic has actually shifted dramatically since Russia's invasion started. Plagued by the sanctions and frustratingly slow progress, Russia is now at the mercy of China in any potential deals the two countries make going forward. Putin even believes that China will rescue him, which is absurd. China is kind of inciting him to go ahead and quarrel with the West because it's in their best interest. Because if he loses the Western markets, even Japan and many other countries that join these sanctions, he'll come crawling back to the Chinese asking them to buy their same mineral resources. Of course, if someone offers to sell you something and they know that this person's the last resource of money, you're going to get it at a tremendous discount. The Chinese are great businessmen and ruthless businessmen. In a desperate position, that's the last
Didn't
partner.
I say this at the beginning of this shit?
That's the last partner you ever want to deal
that
with.
China might have goaded him into doing it so they could have him under his thumb.
Yeah. So they can take anything they want from Russia at 90% discount because they can get away with it, because Putin will be like, please buy my coal. It's $100 a bag. And Russia's like, I'll give you about $3.50. And he's going to be like, are you crazy? It's $100 bag of coal. And he goes, $3.50. And he's going to say, he's like, this is ridiculous. I can't take $3.50. And he'll be like, well, okay, go sell it to somebody else then. And he starts to turn, like, he'll start to walk away.
You know what they might say?
$3.50.
You want us to support you? Well, we want a certain city back.
No. No. Right now,
they're not going to give up that city.
No, right now, everything is in Xi Jinping's
How bad
favor.
do they need the help?
That's the thing, Scott. You get all of Russia's resources at a discount first. Their economy's crippled, and now they have all their resources sold, which means they don't even have the ability to conduct war, and they just take that city with all the money that they used to buy the weapons that they needed to take it. That's how he's long game. You got to remember, Xi Jinping is long game. This guy doesn't think in terms of weeks. He thinks in terms of decades. That's why he's president for life. He's president for life for a reason. He needs to see his plan all the way through to the end.
No, he's president for life until the Communist Party decides he's not.
He is he's the head of the Communist Party. That's the whole thing. It's all rigged in his favor. Everybody that is anybody in China is under his thumb already. Like Putin's mafia, this guy's mafia's mafia. He's just been in the shadows the whole time, but you're about to see him emerge, because once he's got Putin bent over a barrel, literally, to buy his oil at 10 cents on the dollar, now he's got the oil he needs. Now he's got the coal and iron he needs. He's already conquered the steel industry for the last 15 years. He's got everything he needs. The only thing he's missing is experience. But you know what? You gain that the same way Putin's conscripts are gaining right now in Ukraine. You put them in small skirmishes, and nobody's going to stop him, because he'll just say everything's escalatory and the rest of the world just stands down, and then these guys get away with it. And they're getting away with it against a population that are mostly old people and women and children in these towns that are getting smashed, in the east. So they're practically defenseless. So they're getting experience on a very weakened opponent. Now, when they start getting closer to Kyiv, and they start, actually they've been fighting it out in Mariupol for a week, right? Those guys are having their shit pushed in. But like all those little towns in between, they're getting experience. They're learning. They're becoming battle hardened. And Xi Jinping will do the same thing. Like he'll just walk his way into North Korea and just be like, yo, we own this now. And then that fat-faced fucker would be like, what are you doing? This is my country. And they'll just execute him. They'll be like, I don't have room for a puppet like you. Get out of my way, you fucking worm. And he'll just crush him. Like, he can take North Korea in a day if he wanted to. No doubt in my mind he could do that. And then he'll just take that city you're talking about, which I still think is impossible. But, I mean, if the way Russia's going now, and they become broke and without any resources, then the only thing Putin's got left in his back pocket are nukes. And don't think for a second he wouldn't use them on China. Wouldn't doubt it. Because he'd have to stop it.
What about the Russian people? What you telling me the Russian people are going to go back on him and then shoot him at that point for doing it?
They can try. I mean, that's the problem. You see, it's what's got to happen to Putin has to happen to, or what has to happen to Putin is what happened to President Pak in Korea back in like the 60s or 70s. Like my dad was there. He was at that event. He was sitting there and he saw it happen right in front of him. His own general pulled out a gun and shot the president in the head. Bang.
Now, was that actually a general, or was that a...
That was one of the generals. That was one of President Pak's generals. And killed him.
Why did he do that?
Because he fucking wanted to get rid of him. Now, that's the same thing that's got to go down to get rid of Putin. He's too well protected and too dug in. So, like, the people on the street aren't going to get to them. Most of them don't even have guns. The few who do have shotguns.
Now, as far as the Russian people are concerned, if I was in their shoes, I'd probably say the last thing I want to be doing is fucking shooting off a nuke, because if that happens, a chain reaction is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's the theory of mutual assured destruction. No doubt about it. It's just, it's not the people you have to worry about in that situation. It's the guy with his finger on the button, which is why I was saying this whole situation in Ukraine, if there were 20 million Russians and the Ukrainians killed 19,999,999 of them, and the only person left was Putin, and he still had his finger on the button, the UN and NATO would still stand down. They're still scared of him. He's the Cold War ghost. He's the boogeyman. His reputation of being the boogeyman has been chipped away a lot because his army isn't as savage as he is. But they're getting that way. They're absolutely getting that way. The longer this goes on, the more the atrocities will stack up.
You know what the crazy thing is out of this, Sean?
Hmm.
Most of the guys that are both fighting on the Russians as well as the Ukrainians,
Mm-hmm.
most of them actually served during the Soviet-Afghan war and are actually killing each other off. People that actually knew each other during that time conflict.
Yeah. Well, hell, they were saying for years those are your brothers. Now they're killing their brothers. So that's how important loyalty is to Putin. He doesn't care. He just doesn't care. He will sacrifice every Russian separatist in that country and put them and use them as pawns first before he gets any more of his own troops killed.
Well,
He'll say like, prove your loyalty. Go kill your neighbor. Stuff like that, right? And the really diehard ones might. But then the other ones are going to be like, I didn't sign up for this shit. You told me that we would just be able to get integrated in. You didn't say I'd have to kill my neighbors for it. And then he would just look at them and go, well, what did you think was going to happen?
So would you say Putin's like what? He's not a narcissist. He's fucking worse than that. He's got to be worse than a narcissist.
He's just evil.
No,
he's just evil. He's
he's
Hannibal
a spy
Lecter. No, he's Hannibal Lecter. That's not a serial killer.
Years.
No, you have to look at him. You have to look at him as a complete picture. Okay, he is a governmental world power version of Hannibal Lecter. He doesn't kill one person at a time and eats one person at a time. He kills entire countries and eats entire countries. He's Unicron. Transformers reference. He's a world eater.
You did that. You did it. You finally did it.
I finally made it work. Yeah, he's a world eater.
Unicron eats Megatron.
Well, he's a world eater is what he is, right? He goes into Western world nations and eats them. And no, he's not. Who's he going to save and rebuild into Galvatron? I know that's what the joke was. Like, who's it going to be, right? Osama bin Laden's already dead. Or is he? Or is he?
Oh, my God.
Anyway, let's move on.
Now you're going to get somebody going.
And I'm just that. The whole, look, the world eater thing, that's got a little merit. Everything that came after that, I was just bullshitting. But, like, the global stage version of Hannibal Lecter, though, he absolutely is that. He is. He wears a suit. He's proclaimed to be highly educated. He's very analytical. He's very cold and calculated. The only difference is...
No, now you're going to get Patrick going.
Well, the only difference is Hannibal Lecter was a gentleman sociopath. Like, he killed a lot of people because he was offended by bad behavior, you know? Like, really, truly nice people he didn't typically go after. Just shitty ones and sick ones, or people he deemed delicious. Don't ask. I have no idea how he determines that. Sorry.
Turns out they go with fava beans.
Yeah, and a nice Chianti. So let's move on. We've got 2 stories left, and then I'm going to let Night Strike roam free.
Yes!
So now it's after lunch for me, 12:52. It's now 9 o'clock Ukrainian time. And again, he put out a message, a second one for the day.
Oh, goody.
And you could tell with the camera angle and everything that this is right in front of his office. So he's still not going anywhere. He's right there. Like, He's basically giving a middle finger to the Wagner Group, if you think about it. You're supposed to
He's
be
giving a middle finger to Putin.
Well, I mean, the Wagner Group is like Putin's Russian neo-Nazi super killers, right? They got SS tattoos on their chest where their collar lapel pins are supposed... Like, these people are fucking crazy. Anyway, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Saturday issued a defiant message to Russian President Vladimir Putin as his forces continue to wage war across Ukraine. The Pentagon warned this week that Russia has started to make greater advances on Kyiv as convoys threaten the capital city from nearly every direction. In a news address Saturday, Zelensky said Russia will have to, quote, carpet bomb the capital and kill its residents if it wants to take the city. Only if Russian forces wiped out the, quote, or only if they wipe out the historic memory of the entire region, the history of Kievan Rus, the history of Europe, would they be able to enter Kyiv, he says. If that's their goal, let them come. Now, he basically just told Putin, you have to destroy this whole city to take it. Did you not believe for a split second that that was not going to happen ever? He is going to destroy that whole city. Look at what he has surrounding it. He wants
to destroy the whole city and any government facility that belongs to Ukraine besides nuclear reactors in the country so he can assert domination.
Fine, Abe. I read that, humming that in my head, and now I'm thinking of Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Thanks a lot. No, but yeah, he will forcibly rip that onion layer from layer from layer. He will bleed it out until Zelensky gives up or dies.
Hey, Sean. You mentioned carpet bombing Ukraine.
That's what he said, not me.
You know what that sounds like? Sounds like this character, Vladimir Makarov from Modern Warfare.
Russia will take all of Europe, even if it must stand upon a pile of ashes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly the same kind of mindset right there.
Well, what's going to happen is Kyiv is going to be the next Battle of Stalingrad, literally, because he's got the Dnieper River, which is like the Volga River. It's wide, and it's very hard to traverse. You have to take a bridge, or you have to make a bridge to get across, right?
Yep.
Don't think for a second he will not expend all the remaining Air Force power he has left if they try to cross that river. He will strafe the river into oblivion. They may attack that river, the Ukrainian Air Force, that is. They may hit that river so hard that all the water disappears and they can walk across it. That's how hard they'll defend it. But yeah, he will peel that city layer from layer, just like they did in Stalingrad. They'll destroy the outer layers with artillery repeatedly, day after day after day. Once it's just a rubbled ruin, then they can move their artillery up a couple of miles and take the next layer and the next one and the next one. And once they get in about 5 layers, they'll backfill the remnants of the first layer with occupying infantry, and they'll go rubble pile to rubble pile, trying to kill their snipers and whoever's in there hiding. And they'll clear out the cockroaches, so to speak, until they get all the way to the city center. But I'll tell you one thing. Putin will never, ever step foot in that capital. Number one, he ain't got the balls.
Nope.
He has not been on theater one time since it started. He just doesn't have the balls to do it.
He's a coward.
He is.
He's afraid of getting assassinated.
What better way to motivate your military that have been bottlenecked in Kyiv for the last 16 days than to show up like Patton and say, "Get your ass across the river. If you can't do it, he won't say I'll fire you. He'll say I'll execute you, and you get the job. And if you fuck it up, I'll kill you too." That's the difference between Patton and a Russian Patton. Is Putin will kill you instead of just fire you. He probably saw that movie and the Russian subtitles were incorrect, and he said that I'll fire you. He probably the Russian subtitles probably said I will fire on you, and he was like, "What a great idea! I'm gonna do that in Kyiv."
Are you sure he just wasn't watching The Apprentice?
No. That took me a minute. No. Shark Tank, maybe. No.
Oh,
All right. Last story from me. I promised you I'd do this quickly. I just took a screenshot, but it is a video. It's very sad, actually. It's very touching, too. Like, the older I get, the more emotional I get to shit like this. I caught this one still shot here. And the story read, "When people take a knee for all the right reasons." A video
Oh my
shared
God.
by Ukrainian parliament member Inna Sovsun shows Ukrainians paying their last respects to the reported 1,300 troops who lost their lives amid this war with Russia. Now, if you catch a glimpse of this video, like if you go and do it and watch it, they have a procession of military trucks carrying caskets of the soldiers that recently died. And they're going right through the center of this city. Now remember, there's a curfew at 5 p.m. These are towns that are being bombarded by air and artillery every night. And all these people stepped out into the street and took a knee as this procession drove by. And they were like crying and screaming out like Slava Ukrainia and Heroyam Slava. Like you hear this the whole time this procession's going through. What a juicy lit up target for artillery, and they don't care because they're paying their respects to these guys who have been defending this country. It's really, really touching to see it. Like you should watch that video if you get a chance, because it's not very long, but it's very powerful. It's very meaningful. So that was the last story I personally had. Everything else after that was, I tried to take out all the human interest stories, but that one I think needed to be shown because it's war, right? It's the sad part of war.
Mm.
So anyway, you did have something you wanted to add. I think they're talking about it in chat, but
No, it's
the
not
floor is
about
yours.
Iran. It's not about Iran. Okay, yesterday Sean ignored and he didn't go over, but Major General Andrei Kolesnikov was killed in Ukraine yesterday.
Yes.
That brings the total of generals killed on the
4.
Russian side to up to 4.
Yes.
The first was Chechen General Magomed Tushiev.
Mm-hmm.
The second was General Andrei Sukovetsky. I'm not really good with Russian names, so just
okay.
go with that. And the third was Major General Vitaly Gerasimov.
That was the big one.
But the last one, as of yesterday, that was killed in battle was just killed in Ukraine in general. Whether it was in battle or not, who knows? Was Major General Andrei Kolesnikov, and so that leads it to 4 generals on the Russian side killed in Ukraine. You'd think they'd take the hint that maybe attacking Ukraine is a bad idea. Maybe.
It's possible. I mean, I guess if I'm going to end the episode here, but I'm going to leave you with the words of General Jack Keane, and he said, "Nothing motivates a military faster than killing the other military's general." And with that, I will play this. So we did get it a bit short. We did cut it a little early, but it is Saturday night. The stories are short, and there weren't very many.
There wasn't a lot to go with tonight.
Exactly. So I'm going to thank my panelists for being here. I'm going to thank you, the audience, for showing up as usual. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a regular here, welcome back. Either way, check out my other playlist. See if my other interests might be of interest to you. Tomorrow, there will be a Pwnery's gun review. I already recorded it. I just have to upload it. And I'm pretty sure you're going to love it, especially if you saw the last one, because it just builds off of that. So anyway, if you want to be a part of my server, all the information's below. If you want to be part of the show, it's down there in the description too. I want to thank you all for watching. This was the War Room, Day 17. We will see you tomorrow, and good night. Slava Ukraini.
Shall not be infringed!